Good day, everyone. This is John with Tommy's Top Picks, here to do your weekly market update. Today we'll be taking a look at a box of Arcane Unlimited, opening that up. Should be a good time. Got a bunch of different things to talk about today, so let's go ahead and get this going. So let's first talk about Monarch and what's happening there. I believe last time I spoke a little bit about the Team Covenant deal, $200 a box. I went ahead and bought a case or two, basically just to add to my position. I believe I spoke a little bit about the fact that when the market's afraid, it's a good time to buy. And it's a good thing, too, because that was the pinnacle of fear, I believe. I think things are starting to calm down. I'll explain why in a second. Essentially, what happened is, and this is somewhat confirmed by LSS via George at Kitchen Table TCG's podcast. Essentially, he spoke with James White. The distributors had held back product in a speculative way. And that's not what distributors are supposed to do. And apparently James White is looking into this. So what ended up happening was the prices of it spiked. It made distributors greedy. They held back on a bunch of product. LSS saw product being purchased at a high rate, and as a result, the products themselves weren't getting to the stores that ordered them, the full allocations that they should have gotten. And LSS sees it as all of these boxes are gone and selling at these crazy prices. So it creates a disruption in the market. Now that the prices have cooled off, distributors are seeing that Monarch is not going to go, to 1,000 or whatever, like the Arcane Rising situation or any of the other boxes, Crucible, etc. So they're trying to empty their position. They're trying to get rid of them, and so they'll do it at a breakneck pace, and they're dropping it on the market in a couple places. Team Covenant's not the only place, and this is causing a problem. The prices are dropping dramatically. I don't know if we'll see them under 200 at this point, but it looks like James White is opening an investigation and figuring this out. They want to know what happened and who were the bad actors in this, because it does harm the game when small LGSs across the country can't get any product because distributors are trying to speculate on it. It's not what their job is. And it should be done in a different way if it's going to happen. So that's what happened with Monarch. Now, side effect or ripple effect of this is that we're going to see Tales of Aria overprinted as well, because LSS took it to mean, and remember, printing decisions are made months and months in advance. They took it to mean that there was more demand than there was product, and they had a fairly large printing of Monarch, as we're now seeing, because the prices are dropping. So clearly there's more product than demand. So that was already too much, or maybe not too much, but a reasonable amount. And now they're going to have printed more for Tales of Aria, thinking that the market was able to essentially absorb that amount of product. So we're going to have a lot of Tales of Aria product out there to be concerned with. Now, reality is there's still rare cards. Cold foils will still be rare, even if they printed a ton and ton and ton. The rare stuff will still be valuable over time. I wouldn't stress about that part of it. It just means it will take a longer amount of time for the prices to go up. And that's just how it goes. That's okay. That's part of the market. If you're expecting to make money tomorrow on this stuff, you're not really thinking about it in a reasonable way. So that's that. I did want to add one other thing that just occurred to me. So part of the Aria overprint, it looks like right now Channel Fireball through their eBay account, Card Shop Live, is charging about $83 a box if you buy in cases. So very good deal for getting very low pricing on first edition product. And, for me, the philosophy is let a product come out, let the hype wear down, and then wait until shops, TCGs, LSGs, and, or LGSs, Jesus, start to sell and unload the product, because that's when the market gets the most flooded. This happens with Magic constantly. It's an idea I picked up from Rudy. He says it's about 6 months after product release. Totally agree that there is a time window of hype that everything is a little overpriced. Individual cards, boxes, etc. After that time horizon hits and the dip occurs, that's your time to strike as someone who wants to invest or buy for gains on the actual product pricing. So that's where we're at with Aria. It's at its end of its hype cycle, right before the print run exit is done. Essentially, when the Unlimited comes out and they say there's no more coming of Aria first, that will pump the price when that happens. So now that it's really low, this is probably a good time to be purchasing. And at $83 a box, I mean, that's low. That's barely above Unlimited of other categories. So, it seems like a good time to buy. If you're overbought on Aria, sure, I get it. Don't bother. If you have room or interest in, kind of lowering your cost basis, that's a great way to do it. I think what this does is it does harm the interest in pre-orders. There's going to be some problems with this, and James will investigate, and hopefully they come out with something that gives a lot more comfort to the market itself. And I think they're working on it. It's a hopeful sign for the future. That's really what it boils down to. So speaking of controversies, let's talk about the UK Nationals a bit. Before we jump into the actual controversy itself and investigation, let's talk about the actual ranking. So what happened was 4 Briar showed up, Vasari, 2 Katsu, and a Bravo. So that was a pretty interesting change of pace. There was no Prism to be seen in the top 8. Bravo we've seen before, obviously. Vasari is definitely a wild card. I believe it was the tech that came from Arsenal Pass, those guys. They do some really good content, really good stuff on the strategy and tech of the game. Check them out if you get a chance. And Katsu's obviously an old favorite, but Briar coming out of nowhere, it seems, was a bit of a surprise. Now, I'll be honest, I was looking at this tech, and I think I mentioned it in one of my matchups recently. I'm not sure if that one's posted yet or not. But there's this ability within Runeblade in general, but Briar in particular, that allows you to use zero-cost red cards. And when you do that, you are essentially getting an additional card value. And what I mean by that is, I'll talk about this more in probably one of the tactics podcasts or games, but take a card like Heaven's Claw, right? It's a red, or do a red one, right? So it's 1 cost, 1 pitch. It's 5 damage, right? 5 attack, and 3 defense. So if you add up the pitch value, the attack value, and the defense value, you get 9, and then you subtract the cost of 1, and that equals 8. And that's the general balancing mechanic of the entire game. Every card essentially equals 8 points, at least the attacking cards. I can't speak to the non-attack cards. They probably, well, they may have a slightly different mechanic. But for the attacking cards, it values out to an 8. So something like, I think it's Plumb the Depths or something like that, is a 0 attack with 4, or 0 cost attack, 4, 2 defense, and then it pitches for 1. Again, it's a red card, hence the name Redliner. When people talk about Redliner decks, it means they're all red. And so the strategy for a Redliner deck is to have nothing that costs more than 1, so that you can always pitch for it if you need to using a red card, and ideally have all 0 cost cards. And this creates a strong additional advantage, which I don't think they'll be able to fix as easily as they did with the chain ban. What it boils down to is, with that 8-point system, if you look at a 0 is way more valuable than a 1, not just a difference of 1. It's more than 1 point difference in that 8-point system. And the reason why is because a card like Plum is a draw card on hit, right? So it's 0 cost, 4 attack. So let's do it the easy way. 4 attack, 2 defense, that's 6, plus 1 pitch, that's 7, and then draw a card effect. They consider that a 1-point ability. So then the total equals 8, and there's a 0 cost to it, so it's minus 0, right? So the card equals 8. Well, guess what? Any 0 cost for attack has essentially card draw on it. Why? Because you don't have to pitch. You're not removing anything from your hand to play it. So as a result, what happens? You just got an increased point of value within any red line 0 cost card. And frankly, any 0 cost card, because 0 equates to not having to pitch, so it's the same as having a draw, and also has all the other points on it from the the standard metric of attack and defense and all that. So what that means is it's always more advantageous. There's always more value in zero costing. It will always be an additional effect essentially. And so as a result, you'll see a lot of these decks popping up. I imagine you'll see it in every class. Runeblade is particularly poised to take advantage of it because it has the added effect of the non-attack plus attack gives you something. And when you think about that, zero cost means not getting rid of any cards from your hand, means more chance of hitting that extra value, means greater value added. So as a result, I think we'll see Redliner Lexi. I think we'll see, Redliner and the Ninjas. It's going to be everywhere because it is inherently more valuable than the standard. So let's dig into this UK scandal thing. So apparently Matt Fox, who is infamous for being banned from Magic the Gathering, I don't know anything about that scandal. Look it up. Essentially, he has joined the Flesh and Blood community and has done very well. Was at the UK Nationals and ended up winning. But there's a couple of instances of him essentially playing, I would say, a little bit unsportsmanlike, unsportingly, as they officially called it. And essentially, he changed some counters without stating the game state change while his opponent wasn't looking, and he didn't let his opponent have the same kind of advantage of putting counters on after the fact. Things of that nature, not strictly bannable offenses. He did nothing that was cheating. He did nothing that was strictly bannable, but that's kind of how he is known to play, i.e. he'll work the rules to try to gain advantage instead of just playing a fair sporting game. And it's very clear he did this in at least one match on video. So anyways, this got out. Everyone was complaining, freaking out. It went viral. Everyone was keeping an eye on him because of his behavior in Magic. And so, essentially, LSS stepped in. They took the time to investigate. They contacted the judges and reviewed the video, reviewed the comments, and came out with a statement. I think the statement was great. So this is like 2 points between the James message about the market and distributors and then the way they handled this very professionally. I think this is 2 points in LSS's favor. A lot of people just want Matt banned because of his history, but I don't think that's fair. There's nothing in the rules that allows them to ban him for what was done. So if they did ban him, that means they could ban anyone for any reason they want. We don't like this guy, we're banning him, right? You don't want that. You want them to follow the rules. So what they did was they issued the maximum penalty to him, which is to give him a mark on his record saying he's been warned, and they basically said they would be watching him going forward as a result of this. So he essentially is on notice, and he will be banned if he continues this behavior. They called it unsporting, which is the highest crime, if you will, or penalty-based rule that was broken. And essentially he is now on notice. The second thing they did is they said, we're going to review our rules around unsporting behavior, specifically to address this situation going forward. And we want to let everyone in the community know that this is not acceptable behavior. I think this is great. It opens up the world of the game for everyone. Basically, you don't have to worry about people trying to play these little rules lawyering games to try to sneak around some value out of a game. You call over a judge, you explain the situation, and they'll be put on notice. Like, this is not okay behavior to do this. That said, it was some sloppy play on both sides. It really was, if you watch the game. Now, granted, this was at the end of day one, I think they said. So it's, 8 hours of play, you're tired, you're mentally exhausted, and you make mistakes. It's just when you start using that to your advantage, your opponent's mistakes and your mistakes aren't being treated equally. That's when it's not sporting anymore, right? You're essentially trying to get around the rules and gain extra value that isn't from fair play. So I like the fact that they're trying to make this very clear and obvious that you play well, you play fairly, come with it with the mindset of playing a fair game. And that's great. That's just nothing but good for the competitive side of the market. And from there, obviously that leads to prices of actual cards, which ends up encouraging people to invest in the long run and play in the long run, which is better for everyone. So I want to talk a little bit about EVs, but I also want to say that I won't be doing any deep dives on EV in the future. I feel like I'm stealing content from someone else and just regurgitating it because all of my EV information is coming from Louis from Kitchen Table TCG. Love that guy. He's a great content creator. He's great for the community. He's out there doing his thing full time. Go give him some support, subscribe, like, etc. because he is amazing. His content's great. His Patreon is well worth it. He tracks the prices for you every week for free, and then you can also track your own collection against that if you pay the Patreon. I'm a patron. So essentially, all of my EV summaries come from him. I don't want to take credit for what his work is. I like his work. I fully endorse you going and checking him out as well. I have a different perspective on things. I come from a financial background, an investing background, so I can make my own content that's of use and value to the community that's different than his without stepping on any toes. So henceforth, I will just be doing summaries of essentially what he's already said. If you want it quicker, get it from him. So essentially, it's just going to be the last week summarized. So to that end, there's two pieces of big information that I think are important for you guys to know if you're interested in the markets and listening to me and haven't heard some of his stuff. One of them is Monarch Rare Foil Commons have been experiencing a buyout where they were $1 or maybe under $1 not that long ago. Suddenly they're shooting up in price because everything under that price has gotten bought out. And that happens in every card game and is very common for a market. It's good to see it happening in Monarch because what that's actually doing is raising the EV of Monarch. So while the box prices are going down, as we just discussed, the actual card value inside the boxes is going up, which when you get that inversion, it's not there yet, but when you get that inversion, it makes people want to open boxes. And when you open boxes, guess what? The value of boxes go up because they become rarer. And since we know the market is a little flooded right now, that can only help stabilize it quicker. That said, I don't know if you're into rare foil or rainbow foils or not. I like some of them. I've definitely picked up a few for my own collection purposes. Mostly I stick with cold foil. I think that's the place to be if you're trying to invest for the long run. But it is a worthwhile piece of news that he, cracked and basically figured out and told everyone. The other thing that's interesting is that Arcane Rising is ticking up in general. This is great for the market. I think it's an anticipation of Unlimited out of print announcement for Unlimited Arcane Rising. We'll see. WTR and ARC are both clearly the next on the list, but you can't put them out of print too early because all you have is Tales and Monarch, right? So there's got to be some balance there. I don't know when it will happen. I don't think it will happen too soon. I think it will happen probably next year sometime, maybe around the new expansion set. We'll see on that one. So just to jump into other markets very briefly, Magic continues to perform and tick up over the past week or so. We're seeing small increases, a point here, point there, for your expected things such as Time Spiral Remaster or Double Masters boxes. I think that one jumped like 7% or so in the past week or two. Adventure for Forgotten Realms set boosters are going up as well. Collector boosters in general are flat, and Rudy did a whole session on this, a whole recording on this specifically, that he's seeing collector boxes being rejected or ignored generally across the market. I don't know if that's true. I'm not seeing anything dramatic there, but maybe he's just not seeing sort of the throughput that he sees with normal historic hype in sets. I think what's happening, and he proposes this too, is that you're getting wallet fatigue and you're getting a pause before holiday season, right? Everyone's saving to buy their family gifts, etc. So I don't think it's anything to even note, honestly. It's just seasonal adjustment price fluctuations, which seem very logical to me. So, but generally speaking, the market does seem healthy. Like I was saying, War of Spark, is up 6% over the last 2 weeks. Strixhaven set boosters 4%, and that one's a recent one. So you're seeing it in kind of the two main categories that I follow, which are the more recent stuff and then the last kind of chunk before the more recent stuff. And so that's looking interesting. There's been a couple of interesting anomalies. And I don't know where this is. I'll track this going forward. But essentially, Zendikar Rising Collector Box, it jumped 26% in 2 weeks. I don't understand why. Maybe someone did a buyout. Maybe they just got harder to grab. I know it went out of print not that long ago, but it doesn't make sense why the collector boxes suddenly jumped that high. But I'll take it. I mean, it's in my collection, so that's fine by me. Last I checked, the Rudy card actually went up in value a little bit, about 10-15%. Nothing too crazy there. And then going into MetaZoo, obviously those are jumping in prices like crazy. The new Nightfall set came out. I think it's already up like 25% or something right off the bat. It tends to happen historically. I don't think this will last forever, but it is what the historic pattern is. Full disclosure, I did buy one of the Rudy kits. It was great, to get it, at the price he offers. He gives a lot of value. There's a lot of different stuff in the box, so I'm hoping that works out as well. But that is pretty much my only exposure to MetaZoo, so I don't talk about it too much because I don't really know much about it and not really involved. It is said that MetaZoo is kind of the flesh and blood of the Pokemon world, whereas Flesh and Blood is kind of like the magic thief. It's taking magic players. It seems that MetaZoo is taking Pokemon players. I don't know how true that is. That's just the speculation in the community at large. But it's worth noting and keeping an eye on as things happen and progress. You'll be able to see different market impacts as a result. So if you see particularly bad Pokemon sets, expect good MetaZoo results, or vice versa. Same with Flesh and Blood versus Magic. I imagine we'll see a Magic hype pick up again sometime next year. And, with the new set, Kamigawa, Streets of New Capena, something like that. And then Dominaria and Brothers I believe, are the most exciting sets. So I fully expect maybe the first half of the year to be a little quiet, kind of like this Innistrad set. Not as exciting for the market, so I imagine those products won't sell as well. I mean, I could be wrong. One of these might just be a runaway hit that I just I'm not that deep into it, so maybe that's just how it is. But by the end of the year, I think Dominaria United and Brothers were both sets to keep an eye on that people are very interested in. Obviously, there's Commander's Legend set, and there's also the Double Master set 22. So those are all hot products, generally speaking. So it's worth keeping an eye on that versus the Flesh and Blood market and see how that plays out. And then, obviously, with the Pokemon issues that have happened with printing, there's going to be further things to consider when it comes to your MetaZoo world and how that goes. Now, that said, I don't think MetaZoo is poised to take Pokemon out anytime soon, nor do I think Flesh and Blood is poised to take Magic out anytime soon. I think they're just new kids on the block with some exciting shine to them, and that attracts people and that attracts dollars. So it's worth analyzing and keeping an eye on it. You want to be diversified into things that are safer in different ways, so they're impacted by different markets in general. That's just how you have a risk-adjusted portfolio in anything. That's how you do your crypto. That's how you do otherwise. So you might as well do it with your trading cards if you see them as an investment, which in some cases I do. Obviously, not all of them. A lot of the stuff is for playing and for fun, and not ever going to be worth anything for me. But there's collector pieces that I do have and hold on to with the intent of them increasing in value over time. So I want to be clear here. While I treat these as investments and think of it in a financial manner, and I have a financial background, nothing I'm saying is financial advice at all. And frankly, all of this is incredibly, incredibly speculative. So be very careful with how you spend your money. Do not go into debt to buy cold foils or something of that nature. Do not spend money you cannot pay to get into this space, and do not treat this as your primary and only investment portfolio. It is a horrible idea if cardboard is your primary and only investment. It's so high risk, it's so volatile, there's so much loss built into it. You're not going to get very far if that's the way you invest with all your money. I have collected crypto and equities and housing and all the rest long before I spent any real money into cardboard. So you should do the same. Well, no, it's not advice. My point is, don't get yourself in trouble chasing cardboard highs and lows in the market. That is dangerous. It is a risky game, and just be aware that it's risky. I have no advice for you. This is an entertainment channel to talk about what's happening and news and the exciting things that we see in this game and in this space. It is not here to be a financial advisor for you, because you shouldn't be talking about cardboard if you want financial advice. That's really what it boils down to. I love Alpha Investments. I love Rudy, and he's got a great way of looking at things. Very real, very fresh, very much in alignment with my opinions on markets and how to behave within them. But at the same time, it is cardboard, and he often talks about his multiple streams of income first. So you got to realize that if you're not at that point, you shouldn't treat cardboard as your retirement fund or something of that nature. You need to get those other things set up and taken care of first so that you can do it. Again, if you're doing it for enjoyment and fun and you gain value out of it, awesome. Like, that's the win. That's the hope of all of us out here doing this stuff. We want to have fun with something. This is why I do it. You know, have fun with something that we believe in and actually gain some financial value over time with it. So do that. I mean, it's well worth it. So let's jump into the next topic real quick. So the big question is what's happening at U.S. Nationals. Day one is done. So we're seeing what the winners were, and it is literally 7 Rune Blades. 7 Rune Blades. 2 Chain, 5 Briars, 1 Lexi, which I find very interesting that it's Lexi. I don't know what the deck is. They haven't released the list yet. Obviously, the competition's not over. We don't know who the winner is yet, and we'll cover that next week. But I find it very interesting that this Redliner tech is discovered. It is kind of showcased at UK, and then suddenly everyone's a Briar coming into this. And the ones that aren't are Chain or Lexi, both of which have Redline potential of the same sort, because the Briar Lightning cards are very Redline focused and easy to use, and most of the Lightning cards can be used with Lexi. I don't know if it's a Lightning Lexi. We don't know. It might be an Ice Lexi, and they're doing well because that helps offset how Briar works. And then Chain has a different line, but it's a similar situation and similar level of advantage with low-cost cards that you can pitch. He's got to set it up a little bit differently and is still competitive that way. But, I mean, 5 Briars, what in the world is going on? The last time we saw this, it was all Chain, and they banned some cards like the next day. So we might see that again. I wouldn't be surprised if there's some sort of adjustment. I don't know that they can fix the problem, because as I was explaining with the card math, 0 is just slightly more valuable than any other pitch level card or cost level card. So you're going to have to ban all the generic red 0 cost cards that fit that formula. 0 and 4 attack and 2 defense is typically the numbers you're looking for if you want to take advantage of that additional value. And I'll be honest, the Briar deck I built and played with and have been playing with a lot and even competed with a little bit is basically mostly generics. It's not heavily Lightning. It has Lightning in there. There's some in there, but it's mostly generics that are 0 costs and, 4 attack. That's what I was looking for. 0 cost, 4 attack. You get that and some added value, and then you figure out how to combo it. And I'll be honest, it's not the Lightning tokens. A lot of people are online speculating, Lightning tokens are broken and it's Briar. It's not actually Runeblade. Nope, not true. I never use Lightning tokens. I almost never get them because I don't double non-action or non-attack action. So I don't think it's the Lightning tokens that's broken. I think it's the 0 cost cards that are overpitched, the way the math is explained, the way I looked at it earlier. So I don't know how you fix that unless you do some sort of blanket change or create things that counter it, which Frost is definitely a thing that counters it, because you're now making them pay 1, and that breaks it up. I think Prism's another one that can counter it with the forced attacks, the Arclight Sentinels. Essentially, if you kill a chain, a combat chain, an attack chain, for one of these, they lose their momentum pretty quickly, and they can struggle to get it back if you have big swings to counter on them or to come back at them with. So it can be one of those challenges that's difficult to overcome. But anyways, that's enough on that for the U.S. Nationals. We'll see how the results are. It's too speculative to say right now, but that was very interesting impact and very unexpected. So I want to do something a little bit different as we come into the close with the last 2 packs here. First off, I want to thank everyone that watches and listens to these things. I enjoy doing them. Part of it I'm doing to just hold on to have memory of, this time and this space. It's a very unique and interesting time in collectible cards. And I really, I enjoy it. I enjoy doing this, and I hope it brings, joy and happiness to other people out there. But I want to say thank you to anyone out there to do that. So that does that, because it's very helpful to us. It's very helpful to me. I find it therapeutic to go through cards, and just a fun thing to do, sorting cards and opening packs, obviously. So as we get to this last one, I'm just curious if there's anyone out there that is listening. And at this point, we don't have that many subscribers, but I'll be interested to see how many people in the future come back and watch these older market updates and listen to what's out there. So if you made it this far, and if you're listening, leave a comment, hashtag FAB, F-A-B, money. And when I see that, I'll know that you made it this far, that you're listening and paying attention to the content. And it kind of helps as a little marker of where interest drops off and if people are really interested in it. And I think I'm going to do a couple of these over the course of a few videos. I got a case of tails that I'm opening next. So I'll be opening one box each week as I do the next market updates. And, maybe I'll send over something spicy from those boxes if people leave the comment. And I'll remind you with each video. But just something interesting I thought I'd do as we close this box out. And if you like the content, as always, hit the subscribe button and the like button. The comment will help, obviously. If I suck, tell me. That also helps. If there's anything I can do to improve, let me know. And do me a favor, if you would, take the link to this video and share it in one Discord or group or whatever that you're involved in that allows it. Obviously, don't spam my stuff elsewhere. But if you share it with somebody, that'd be helpful. We are growing organically, and so far it's working nicely. So let's go ahead and jump into the results of this box. It looks like we got a few here that are worth taking a look at. We'll clean this up and then be back with the final prices. So here we go. Nth Blade foil 349. And then we got a Red and Ledger. That is 174. It's not that great. High Octane 853. It's a big hit for this box. Tome of the Arknight, which I was happy to find, 122. Three of a Kind is the big hit for the box at $13. And then last but not least, or actually second to least, Chain of Eminence is only 138. So a total of $29.36. If you like the content, like, subscribe, leave a comment below, and hope you have a good day.